and welcome to Milester Online Channel. Here we discuss contemporary issues, and today is no different. Today we'll be discussing and handling issues suicidal. What are some of the things that causes somebody to end up taking their own lives? What are some of these issues and how are they brought up? We'll be measuring on sociological aspects of suicide. What are some of the social aspects that causes one to resort to suicide or even think that suicide is the way out? Well, with the help of my guest today, he will help us elaborate on some of these issues that brings one to a point of thinking, societal issues that will bring one to think that suicide is their way out of their problem. My guest today will help us analyze some of the sociological aspects of suicide in our society. What are some of the things that brings forth suicide to be a solution to many? My guest today is none other than Mr. Alphonse Awiti. And thank you so much, sir, for joining us to the show. Brother Alphonse, welcome once again to the show. Thank you so much for gracing us with your presence. Thank you for your time. And even as you take us through today's topic, what are some of with the alarming rate at suicide numbers increasing every day, what are some of the differences spread over the years? If you look back in terms of history, what are some of the differences what are the increase in terms of years and spread across the age set and age group in our society? How do we look at that in terms of sociological aspect of suicide?
Well, thank you, Pam, once again for inviting me to your show. Suicide is a problem in society today, and when we look at the rising cases of suicide in our society today, it's something that is alarming. Like the police records, the recent police records show that the period between March and May 2021 alone, close to 500 people committed suicide. That's alarming number. And in terms of even the spread, the youngest person who was recorded to have committed suicide was a 9-year-old. Imagine a 9-year-old committing suicide. What would drive such a child to even, because that is still a child, to even do that? So it means there are problems in our society. Again, according to the same record, the oldest person to have done this is a 76-year-old person, which is again on the upper side, because you expect that is an old man maybe having his easy time or sunset years. So that is, if you look at that trend, then you find that this is a problem in our society today. And Kenya being part of the one community in the one, this is something that we should be concerned about.
Maybe if for the sake of our audience, tackle a little bit in terms of the differences in the years. Is there a way history records suicide? Was it as alarming as it is now in the years back? And looking at the years back, the years in terms of our parents, our great-parents, great-grandparents, is it true that they also experienced suicide? And if they did, is it in such an alarming rate? And what are some of the things that are triggering this generation to think suicide is the way out?
Yes, suicide has been studied by different scholars before, but here we are going to particularly focus on the social or sociological aspects. And social aspects are those aspects that are outside the individual. Like psychologists or people who study mental health will want to which at some point you'll invite to your show,
Yes.
will give us those individual factors, the factors inside the individual that would now drive one to do that, because they study the mind of people.
Yes.
But for us, we want to look at society and things in society that will make a person or this trend to continue. So if we give it that perspective, will allow me to look a bit at the history of those scholars who have actually studied suicide before. One of them was a French sociologist called Émile Durkheim. He's one person who is considered a founder of sociology. During the French, we usually call it during in the French or French times. So he did his work, and these works were widely published on some of the types of suicide that existed in society then. That if you look deeply, they are also we are also showing
experiencing them
right now. Like, he theorized 4 types of suicide.
Yes.
The first one he called egoistic suicide, and ego is about the individual. You'll find that here an individual would feel like an outsider. An outsider in the sense that there are issues that are affecting this individual, but it's like they are not addressed, and his social interaction with others is not leading to him finding a solution.
Yes.
So in that case, for example, someone going through a divorce may want some social support around them, or people to talk to. So these people would fall into that category if they end up contemplating to the point where they end up committing suicide. Then that is the one type of suicide that this person studied. The other one that he studied, he called it altruistic suicide. And as the name suggests, this as an aspect of group involvement, like in the case where you've heard of suicide bombers. These are somebody would do this to meet something or a need or a calling from his religion or from a particular group that this person relates with. So that is also a form of suicide that is there.
They do it for the sake of recognition.
Yes.
Yes.
Like even groups who do drugs and substance abuse, you'll find that in most cases it's not an individual. There are people who coalesce around that and make that something that they value. The third form or type of suicide, according to him, was what he called anomic suicide. And anomic is where there is what he called loose regulation in society. For example, people who have invested in financial, maybe even in shares and even in the financial markets. These are groups, these are sectors that need some regulation. And if, for example, someone loses what he expects to do or achieve through that, then these are people who, in the West, somebody will just shoot themselves because what they were expecting or regulation in that sector was not done well, and he feels that he lost that unnecessarily. So that would be a driver to suicide for that person. And lastly is what he called fatalistic. And fatalistic is where the regulation in society is so strict that individuals feel that the way their way out is only to commit suicide. Like in Korea, where the government controls everything, and people feel like they are even suffocated.
They are oppressed.
They are oppressed. They have no ways in which they would express themselves.
Yes.
So that's what eventually termed fatalistic. And even that aspect, and these forms of suicide, you'll find that the one aspect or one type can easily relate to another one in that sense. So he studied it from the societal perspective, and even if you look at what is happening today, his studies are really in sync with what is happening right now. Yeah.
The Kenya National Human Rights Commission, they do their best to report cases of suicide, but many are the cases of attempted suicide in our society that go unreported. Why do you think that is the case, and is there something that the commission can do in terms of just ensuring these cases go to the record?
Yeah, sure. Between 2015 and 2018, Kenya National Human Rights Commission recorded 1,442 cases of attempted suicide, and these are people who went through the early stages of contemplating suicide, but never actually got to the point where they did. And even where they got, maybe a few cases would have been stopped before that suicide attempt was successful. So this is something that can be linked to issues of mental health. People are passing through a lot of challenges with the COVID situation also. Remember, quite a number of people also lost meaningful employment that they had before. There are cases of children, school unrest, and parents going through several challenges out here that drive them, that could drive them in that route. So it is a huge high number. Actually, that number is high. That the number that was recorded in 2020, the whole of 2020. So it tells you that social pressures are becoming more and more.
Yes.
And if something is not done, then we are looking at a time bomb in terms of explosion of suicide cases.
And why is the commission not doing? What are the challenges that maybe the commission itself might be facing for them not to report these cases? Is it because the cases are too many, some don't get to be known by them, or what in return can be done so that these cases are actually reported and the necessary actions, as you're saying, is taken so that these people can be helped, for them not to reach the point where they actualize their pre-attempted suicide? Yes.
Yeah. Actually, these are only a fraction of what is reported. What is reported here is a fraction of what is actually on the ground.
Yes.
Because there are so many cases that were never even reported to the Kenya National Human Rights Commission. So that, like I say, tell you that there are those factors. You know, a simple thing like you living next to a neighbor and you don't know even what the neighbor is undergoing. The next time you don't see this neighbor for several days, you assume the person maybe
just okay.
Yeah.
They say you're minding your own
your own business.
Yeah.
Exactly. So the kind of life we are also living right now is not the kind of life that maybe our parents or even other societies communities before used to do, those were communal, things were communal then, such that you knew your next neighbor, you cared for each other, people cared for their kids, especially in the rural, but in the urban setup where you have a neighbor, maybe even in rental places, you've never even known what the neighbor does. So if this person may be undergoing a lot and you could not know, and in most cases you find that people just get surprised that this person was just okay according to them.
They were just okay.
They were just fine, and so the number that gets actually reported is actually lower than those who actually are reported.
Yes.
So it's a problem, and we will. This is something psychologists are also looking deeply and trying to study those factors, that because they treat individuals on a one-on-one basis. So it's something that is there.
Maybe just to add, it's to say that people don't take mental health very seriously. So as you say, a neighbor might just look okay on the outside because the society have taught us to be strong. You are supposed, especially for the male gender, they suffer a lot because now you're not supposed to you're not allowed. The society itself does not allow you to put on that sad face. In fact, people will want to ask you why everybody else is dealing with their own issues. You are not allowed. And I think just as a society, for our viewers, let's learn to be more cautious, to be more alert with our neighbors, and just want to know them. I feel like knowing people and putting them close and having a relationship with them will place them at a point of wanting to share 1 or 2, 3 things with you. And some of these cases, as we continue to discuss, might be avoided. We might avoid such cases. And even as we continue, Bonawiti, help us understand why somebody, because we've talked about cases like right now, the pressure that we're undergoing with COVID, bringing so much in families. But we find that people who just seem to be doing well in terms of employment. They have a very stable job, their lives seem like they are moving, they are probably driving a very nice car, living in a very nice apartment. Their life is the ideal American lifestyle that anybody would want for themselves. But we've also seen such people resorting to suicide. What are some of the things that might drive somebody who is just have a secure employment to resort to this kind of route?
All right. Yeah, there are cases where you find that someone in secure employment would take or
an alternative route.
Yes, which is that
suicide.
route, which is suicide.
Yes.
And we have to understand that these people are also undergoing social pressures from their workplaces, from even their families, from friends, and all this, because they are part of the society. So, and some even are economic. Some have invested in even shares, and some of these business deals are not going as they expected. So you'll find that as this one individual could be having several pressures, social pressures from family, from business, from finances, from work, and this can this can be too much if not handled, or if this person is not helped. So, and these are what we call structural factors, and perhaps can drive someone to that route.
And maybe if I may ask, what is the relationship between rising suicide cases and socialization?
Individuals are socialized differently. People, there are people who socialization is really the root of our existence as human beings. We are saying that people learn through, or childhood learning is through either nurture or nature. And nature is biological, but nurture is sociological or social aspect.
Yes.
And this is the background to this is socialization, where we have, of course, those factors that drive socialization, including family, school, friends,
Yes.
workplace.
Yes.
So these are some of the factors that drive. So, for example, an individual, a man, is socialized to behave in a particular way.
Yes, the society expects a male gender to be a specific way.
It's
Yes.
like you should not, if you cry,
You should not cry.
yeah, even if you're undergoing something,
You should handle
not,
it in a manly way.
in a
You
manly
should be
way.
strong.
Exactly.
Yes.
So, and you find that somebody could be undergoing a lot, which by sharing and also expressing.
And actually, strength is not necessarily expressed in keeping quiet,
Mhm.
because this is what is leading to so many cases. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So repercussions in terms of how you express your masculinity as a man can make you either decide to express your challenges outside or not. And society will look at you as a weak person if you express certain things, like you feel like you are emotionally down. So those are things that society for a long time do not encourage you to.
Yes.
Yeah. So socialization is a very good, great aspect, as great aspect, and even our children right now, be it a boy or a girl, it's better to socialize them in a way that they should not look at certain roles more as manly and others as feminine. So they should know that to express their problems is normal, and especially in the society we have today.
And then, is it true to just say socialization, as you've well explained it, leads to most of the rising numbers? Because in the case of a boy being told not to cry, and if they don't cry in public, then they end up crying in private, which eventually in their own thoughts they think suicide is the way out. So maybe I don't have to feel this way. Then the society should just know more, even to our viewers, to just learn to allow people to just express themselves more, because this will help us reduce some of these unnecessary deaths and losing our brothers, our sisters through suicide. And maybe as we conclude, Gwanawite, take us through some of the ways in reducing suicide cases in our country moving forward. What are some of the ways that we can use in reducing suicide? Yeah,
I think one of the ways in which, if we look at the social aspects from this perspective, is to ensure that we re-establish those social support systems where individuals have other people live in a world where they can share their issues together, and we are not individualistic in a way that the way that the world is currently. So social support system is important. It's important for individuals to have friends that they can share their issues with, be it in the house, family, and even colleagues at work. Find someone you trust, with whom you can share your challenges. The other one is also that to be open to help. When someone is undergoing a challenge, just like we talked about, even if it is a man, there's no harm in a man going to see a counselor. Don't feel that you're less of a man if you go see a counselor for help, or even a church pastor. All these are social support systems. If you have someone you have that you can trust, you can share with, be it a religious leader, be it a counselor, or that's really important. Let individuals be able to share.
Yes.
The other thing is that even the legal system should be such that people who are found to want or to be close to committing this act should not be really taken through the legal process such that they're looked at as criminals, but they should be looked at people who need help or some kind of mental health should be put through. Actually, we should have a mental health program where, for example, you're seeing rising cases of policemen committing suicide. So, like it's been discussed before, that now there's a program that is helping them. But this should be spread even to other sectors, not only just the one sector, but even other sectors. So we can give it a broader perspective, and for the youth, let them also engage in positive activities and behaviors that would really also help them, and they should avoid thinking of or being hopeless, having feelings of hopelessness. They'd rather have groups, those groups that are positive, that can help them to navigate this challenge. So that is how I think we can look, it can be helped. But for those individuals who have challenges with, we encourage them, personally encourage them to seek professional help from psychologists and even other mental health personnel. Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Brother Alphonse, for gracing our presence with your amazing wisdom to just teach us on the topic of today, suicide. And you've discussed broadly on various ways, and I believe our listeners would get to learn so many things. I've personally learned about social factors that I didn't know about. And even as you listen, thank you so much for giving us impact with your wisdom on ways even to look at life and what we can do moving forward to avoid some of these many cases that keep on arising. And we're looking forward to have you again in the show. Thank you so much for always availing yourself each time we call on you.
Thank you, Pam. It's always my pleasure.
Yes, we are humbled to have you. I must say thank you to our viewers for your patience until this video, and thank you so much for watching, for clicking, for always following up on our content. Thank you for the massive support on our last episode. If you have not watched it, go ahead and watch it. Go ahead and show us some love. Go ahead and show us support. Comment down below what you think. What are some of the things you want us to discuss in this channel? What are some of the hosts you'd like to see on our channel moving forward? But as we have had in today's discussion, please let us take some of these points home and let us realize that it takes us, me and you, to help some of these cases to not arise. It's our brothers, it's our sisters, it's our relatives, it's our neighbors that we lose on a daily basis through suicide. And some of the social aspects, as we've discussed with my guest today, can be avoided. So let's be kind, let's practice kindness in every area. Let's always be our brothers' keepers, and moving forward we are able to help most of these cases not come to light. And thank you again for being such an amazing people, and I'm looking forward to even discuss this topic further with a professional, somebody who have done the aspect of psychological issues that leads one to resort to suicide, and we'll be bringing that to you also soon. We'll be talking about mental health, mental issues, and some of the mental issues that leads one to resort to suicide. And as we continue discussing, invite a friend, invite a family member, tell them to come and listen to some of these aspects that we tackle, because it's very important for all of us to be enlightened on these issues so that we know how to handle some of these cases. But until then, until our next discussion, keep safe. May the Lord keep on keeping you, and may you take care of yourself until we meet again. Otherwise, bye.